Most international students in Australia waste years of their life and tens of thousands of dollars to only figure out that the course they chose was never going to help them achieve their visa goals in the first place. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you how we help international students choose the right course in Australia, why we're different from every other education or migration agency, and exactly what to expect before you sit down for our strategy session. Whether your goal is permanent residency, advancing your career with a world-class education, or simply buying time while you explore this beautiful country, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how we'll help you get there. Active Study has worked with thousands of international students over the years to help them choose the right course and the right provider for their situation. We help our students and visa applications with all visas from education through to migration. We hold your hand through the entire process. We're the support system through the ups and the downs of what it takes to achieve residency in Australia and build a long-term future in this beautiful country. Here's something most international students don't realise until it's too late. Most agents start with the course. They work with a handful of providers and their job is to fit you into one of their courses. Active Study, we do the opposite. We start with the goal and work backwards. This is called our reverse engineered strategy. First, we ask you what you actually want long-term. And then we look at the field that gets you there. We look at what it takes to be a skilled individual in that field, and only then we look at which course might be the best for you. The course is one of the last things we choose, not the first. There are two principles we live by here. The first is a skilled individual in a field of high demand, and that will equal visa opportunities. That's the equation. Skills plus demand creates options. Without one of those two ingredients, you don't have a pathway. You have hope. The second philosophy we live by is that passion plus permanent residency opportunities equals the perfect course. Because studying something you don't care about for a 2 or 3 year period to chase a visa is probably one of the most miserable things you can do to yourself. We want the course to work for your visa and for your life. That's why students who come to us with completely different goals can sometimes end up with completely different plans. In our experience, international students fall into one of 3 categories. The first is permanent residency. If you want to build a life in Australia, you need a course that leads to a real PR pathway, not just a visa extension. The second type of student we encounter are those that are looking to buy time. They're not ready to commit long term, but also not ready to leave yet either. You want flexibility, the right duration, the right price point, and the option to pivot if your plans change. The third type of student is those who are looking for a world-class education to advance their career back home. You want a credential that carries weight from an institution that opens doors. Each of these goals lead to a completely different course recommendation. Same student profile, different goal, different plan. That's why we don't have a default answer. We have a detailed process. It's never a one-size-fits-all solution. Let me give you 2 real examples of how this plays out. The first is a student we'll call Tom. Tom came to us at the end of his graduate visa. He'd already studied in Australia, he'd worked, and he'd built some genuinely good experience. But when he came to us, he wanted to know what his options for the next visa were. The problem was, the course he'd chosen years earlier was a Diploma of Leadership and Management. He'd been told by someone it was the right course at the time, but he wasn't passionate about it, and it didn't lead to a skilled occupation. So he was sitting at the end of his graduate visa with nowhere to go from a migration standpoint. So what we did for Tom is we took a step back. We looked at his actual experience, his interests, and the occupations that were in demand in Australia. And we mapped him to a Certificate 3 in Carpentry, followed by a Diploma of Building and Construction Management. This linked him to a real skilled occupation that provided him opportunities post-study. He didn't have to start his life all over again, he just needed the right plan and someone who could see the full picture. The second is Louise. Louise came to us at the very beginning, right at the end of her working holiday visa. She'd fallen in love with Australia and she didn't want to leave. Instead of pushing her into the first course available, we looked at her passions and her interests. She told us she loved working with children, so we landed on early childhood education. We enrolled her in a Certificate 3 and a Diploma of Early Childhood Education and Care. While she studied, she built experience in the field, and by the end of her course, she'd secured an employer willing to sponsor her on a 482 visa. A few years later, she transitioned to a 186 permanent residency visa. Same country, same duration, same cost as someone who picks the wrong course, but a completely different outcome. These are 2 stories we see most often. Someone who's already off track and needs a course correction, or someone at the very beginning of the journey who has a chance to do it properly the first time. Now there's one thing I want to be straight with you about. We won't always tell you what you want to hear. If your goal isn't realistic given your situation, we'll let you know. And if we don't think we're able to help you achieve what you're after, we'll be honest about it. We're not here to waste your time or our time. There is no simple pathway to permanent residency in Australia. It simply doesn't exist. There are always bumps in the road, and no two pathways look the same. The plan we create today could also look very different tomorrow, because the rules in front of us today can change overnight. That's the reality, which is exactly why you need someone in your corner who can navigate it with you, not just hand you a course list. Nothing worth having comes easy, and permanent residency in Australia is something certainly worth having. We believe the best place to start building this master plan is a strategy session. It's a free 30-minute call where we're going to ask you a variety of questions about you, your situation, your goal, your timeline, and your budget. We're not pitching anything on this call. We're listening, because we can't build a plan until we understand what you actually want, what you've already done, and what's possible from where you're standing right now. By the end of that call, you'll have clarity on exactly the next steps that you need to take and the solution that's available to you to achieve your ultimate goals. If you've already booked your strategy session, here's how to make the most out of your call. Come with your goal in mind, even if it's just a rough idea. Have your visa details handy and bring any questions that you've been sitting with. If you haven't booked your strategy session yet, the link to do that is right below this video. Pick a time that works for you. We're looking forward to meeting you soon.